Hello and good day. Welcome to our video channel, God's Promises. And today's video will be Romans chapter 11. Let's get started now. Romans 11 is a chapter in the New Testament of the Christian Bible, written by the Apostle Paul. This chapter addresses the issue of Israel's salvation and God's faithfulness to his people, despite their rejection of Jesus as the Messiah. Paul explains that while some Jews have rejected Jesus, God has not rejected Israel as a whole. He argues that there is a remnant of faithful Jews who have accepted Jesus, and that God will eventually save all Israel. The chapter begins with Paul's question: did God reject his people? Romans 11 verse 1. He answers this question by emphasizing God's faithfulness to Israel, despite their rejection of Jesus. Paul uses the example of the prophet Elijah to show that there is always a remnant of faithful people in Israel. He argues that there is a remnant of Jews who have accepted Jesus, and that this remnant is evidence of God's faithfulness to his people. Paul then addresses the idea that God has replaced Israel with the church. He argues that the church has not replaced Israel, but has been grafted into Israel. He uses the analogy of an olive tree to show that the Gentile believers are like branches grafted onto a tree that has some natural branches, Jewish believers. Paul warns the Gentile believers not to become arrogant toward the natural branches, but to remember that they have been grafted in by God's grace. Paul then turns to the future of Israel. He argues that God's plan is to save all Israel, but that this will only happen after the full number of Gentiles has come in. He uses the analogy of a partial hardening to explain why some Jews have rejected Jesus. But he also emphasizes that this hardening is temporary and that God will eventually remove it. He quotes from the book of Isaiah to show that God's plan is to save all Israel, saying, "The deliverer will come from Zion. He will turn godlessness away from Jacob." Romans 11 verse 26. The chapter ends with a doxology, a hymn of praise to God. Paul emphasizes God's wisdom and knowledge, and he gives glory to God for his plan of salvation. He says, "For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever." Romans 11 verse 36. The teaching application of Romans 11 is that God is faithful to his people, even when they reject him. Paul emphasizes that God has not rejected Israel, but is working to save all of his people, both Jews and Gentiles. He warns Gentile believers not to become arrogant toward the natural branches, but to remember that they have been grafted in by God's grace. Christians today can take comfort in the fact that God is faithful to his promises and that he is working out his plan of salvation for all people. We are called to be humble and to give glory to God for his wisdom and knowledge. We are also called to be messengers of the gospel, sharing the message of salvation with both Jews and Gentiles, and trusting that God will save all who come to him in faith. Thank you for visiting us today. Please share with us your favorite Bible verse below in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help our channel grow. Looking forward to see you back here for our next video. Always take good care.